It's time for Howlers and Growlers. A weekly show from our Arizona Coyotes writing pack, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, prospects, and much more. From training camp to the playoffs, from draft day to the trade deadline, our team covers everything ice hockey in the hot desert. So sit back, grab your favorite cold beverage, and get ready for Howlers and Growlers.
Welcome to Howlers and Growlers. I'm your host, Haynes Evans, and we are thrilled to have you join us on our show tonight. Without me tonight is my colleague and line mate from the Hockey Writers, Pat Brown, who's currently at the Coyotes-Rangers game tonight. So note, this is being recorded before tonight's episode. Actually, the puck drop is going to be here shortly, so this is before tonight's episode against the Rangers. Nevertheless, I have joining me tonight from the Hockey Writers, Winnipeg Jets writer, Colton Davies. Colton, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you for joining us. And we also have prospect guru, Vancouver Canucks credentialed writer, and our producer. You guys know him. He's been on multiple times, Matthew Zator. Matthew, how are you?
Doing good, Haynes. Happy to be here again.
Thank you. We're happy to have you back. You're certainly the most reused guest on our show. So we're happy to have you on for another episode this week. But thank you all to both of y'all for joining me this week. I really appreciate it. So yes, thank you for that. But we have a lot to talk about. But first, in the spirit of our show, we need to start off with our beverage of choice. I'll get a start here tonight. I am drinking a Charleston, South Carolina, little local here, brew. I'm drinking an Edmonds O Sour. I am drinking a sour cherry pineapple. Very delicious. Never tried it before.
Nice.
Am absolutely loving it. So what about you, Colin? What are you drinking with us tonight?
I'm just drinking a Coca-Cola tonight. Nothing too special. Just
Coca-Cola's
an
always
old bottle
great.
of Coca-Cola,
Always
yeah.
a great choice. Always a great choice. What about you, Matthew?
Well, I had the Okanagan, the apple. Last time I was on. I've got the pear flavor this time. So
Nice.
Okanagan cider, and I have not tried this one yet. So we'll see how it is.
Nice. Awesome. Well, great. Thank you all for letting me know your drinks of choice tonight. Now let's talk some hockey. So it was reported this past Monday by Craig Morgan that Carter Hutton is officially back on the ice for the first time since sustaining a injury back on October 24th against the Florida Panthers. Yet there's no timeline for his return as of now. While we hit on this subject briefly last week, thanks to Dale Monning's question, thank you so much. What do you think the team's plan is once he's cleared to play? Does he see a conditioning stint in the AHL, or do we think this guy's going straight right back on the lineup and someone's going down? What are y'all insights? Matthew, I'll let you go first here.
Well, Hutton's been out for a while. You're looking at Vejmelka's played pretty well in his absence. Wedgwood's been good. I think he goes down and has a conditioning stint because you don't want to. He is a veteran goaltender, but he's been out for a while. I think he should just go down. You got two capable goaltenders up here with the Coyotes. I think just let them run with it right now and until he's fully healthy and ready to go. It's no point in just pushing him right back in. I don't think.
I agree with that. I've seen a lot recently of people saying just trade him, and I don't see that happening. As we mentioned before, Andre Torini and both general manager Bill Armstrong have stated numerous times that the Carter Hutton experiment in Arizona is far from over. So the thought that this guy gets moved and traded, I just don't see happening. I see him sticking out, especially because you don't want to win multiple games with the Coyotes this year. You want to be trying to lose as much as possible, as much as it hurts to say that. You want to be losing to go for Shane Wright. So I agree with you there. I think I could see a conditioning stint. But what about you, Colin? What do you think?
I think the same. I think you'll see a conditioning stint to start, but I think they'll try to transition him into more of a starter role. And maybe they'll send somebody like Wedgwood back down to Tucson, or they'll send Vejmelka back down. But I think Hutton will have that little conditioning role, and then he'll likely get the starts.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's gonna be real interesting to see. once he returns to the roster. We really don't know what's going to happen yet and who goes. I
Yep.
know Wedgwood's a fan favorite, but like Pat said last week, it would not be a shocker to see him get moved again and go back on waivers. But that's great insight, guys, and I appreciate it. So let's move now and talk about the defensive side of the puck. Let's talk about Jakob Chychrun. As you know, he currently is out right now for the week with injuries day to day. But just reported today by Elliot Friedman, he was recently reported that Jakob Chychrun could be shot by this hockey team, which is big news if you're a Coyotes fan right now, considering this guy you think is the crucial, pivotal piece to this team's rebuild for the future. And, if he gets moved, originally, what's y'all's initial reactions? And if he were to get moved, who do you think takes over his top spot? I mean, we have guys like Dyson Mayo, Shane Gostisbehere, Cam Deanan, and Kyle Capobianco have all flashed at points this season. If he were to get moved, where do you think he goes? Do you think it's a possibility to get moved? And who do you think kind of takes his spot? And Colton, we'll go with you first here.
So I did a little bit of research on the whole Chychrun trade there and what was going on. And there was some talks about maybe St. Louis being one of the teams that would take a crack at him, get that defensive help. So, you could see like a goalie maybe come back in that type of deal. Maybe somebody like Ivan Barbashev could come over in that type of trade scenario. You could look at Buffalo maybe trying to take a crack at him too. The Canucks as well. There's different teams out there that need that defensive type, player on their roster, and Chychrun fills those needs for sure. When it comes to filling the roles for him, if he leaves, Shane Gostisbehere has had an incredible season so far. He's been lights out. He's one of the top 20 in the league right now for points as a defenseman. I think he has 17 points right now in the season. But that's somebody who will take over a very big role with the Coyotes. And then, guys like Kyle Capobianco, almost butchered that name, but guys like Kyle Capobianco, and then of course, Dyson Mayo and Cam Deanan are all guys who have great futures in Arizona.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think I just want to give some shout out there to Shane Gostisbehere. What a resurgence of a season he's having.
Yeah.
He's most likely getting moved this year, and if he is, he's having the absolute season to do it. If you're going to get moved to a contender, he's proving that he's having a great enough season that he could go to a contender, and he will bring
absolutely.
a lot of assets back to this team. But, real fast, I think another team there that you had mentioned, St. Louis was one, and Buffalo. I've also heard Boston. Now, the asking price is kind of high for Chychrun. I've heard about maybe 2 first-rounders. We could see a prospect go back and return. But what do you think, Matthew? What do you think of making this whole Jakob Chychrun situation?
Well, it's totally a surprise to me. I mean, he's apparently one that, I thought he was going to be a huge part of this team going forward. And yes, he's had a struggling. I mean, he's struggled this season defensively, but the whole team has. It's not really on him. His minus, minus 29?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're looking at this plus minus. I mean, here in Vancouver, Quinn Hughes at a plus minus around there. I believe it was his second season, and now he's a +6, and he's doing really well. So, I mean, I think that's not a knock on Chychrun at all. Ultimately, I don't think he's going to get moved. I feel that this team, I mean, there may be rumors. I mean, Elliot Friedman's a great source. I mean, if he's reporting it, there's something there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's something that's been talked about, I'm assuming, but I don't think something's going to unless a team kind of throws a ton at the Coyotes, especially, I mean, they are a rebuilding team. If a team goes and says, well, we'll give you 2 first-round picks, especially coming up in this draft and the next one.
Oh, yeah.
If there's another first-round pick to be had, you can replace Chychrun pretty easily with maybe a better defenseman. I mean, it's kind of hard to say because he's kind of an established NHLer now. So, but I think it's in the end, I don't think they trade him, but unless they get a huge package, I mean, they definitely will look at it because, you got to build for the future. And if you're going to get a lot more than just having him, then definitely go for it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. And, like Pat had kind of mentioned, we had talked about beforehand, I don't see him getting moved either. I just think if he's really a part of your pivotal, key kind of player for your rebuild, I don't see him getting moved. But I mean, like you said, Matthew, I mean, if a team goes out on a limb and says we have 2 first-rounders for this year, next year's draft, you got to think that Bill Armstrong's listening to an offer. If someone's going to throw that, I mean, with as many picks as you have now, while it would be hard to trade and, change and replace a guy like Jakob Chychrun, I mean, this is a draft that you could do it in. I mean, this year and next year's drafts are so deep. If you were going to do it, this would be the time to do it, as much as I would hate to see him go. But, that's great insight there, guys. And let's jump to another topic here. Let's switch over to the offensive side of the puck now. So the Coyotes currently, as of right now, are out Jay Beagle, Ryan DeZingle, and Johan Larsson, who is just recently gone back on the ice, but has still not had a timeline for his return yet. The team, despite the injuries, has received some positive news with the recent return of Nick Schmaltz, who's missed the last couple of weeks with an injury. He actually scored his first goal on Saturday night, this past Saturday against the Flyers. So how crucial is having a guy like Nick Schmaltz back in your lineup? What kind of spark does he bring to a team that's, really struggling to find the back of the net in most games this year? Let's go to you, Matthew.
Yeah, Schmaltz is he's been a producer in the past for the Coyotes and for the Blackhawks back when, and he's a guy. It's more skill in the lineup that doesn't have a lot of it, and anything like that is going to help your team. It may not move the needle a lot to what the Coyotes are doing. He's not going to score 50 goals. I mean, he's not going to score a ton. So, no. I mean, in the end, he does help. But, and I think, we talked about trades. I think he's a candidate as well. I mean, yes, he's on the relatively young side, but I mean, is he part of the future? We don't really know. Yeah. I really don't know what the Coyotes core is right now. I mean, I don't think they've established a certain type of core. I mean, Lawson Krause is definitely part of it. But I think Schmaltz is a guy that's kind of on the borderline. Are they saying that he's going to be a core piece of this team? I mean, he's an offensive talent. I saw him a lot in North Dakota, playing with Besser. And then, so it's like, he is a definite, offensive talent. So I think he's definitely a big part of this team, an offense, but I don't think he moves the needle a lot in how this team's going to go, but definitely good to have him back in the lineup.
Yeah, no. And, I agree with you there. I think the biggest problem with Nick Schmaltz, is we've seen in Chicago and we've seen over here in Arizona, is he's a very streaky player. He has his moments where he's a very good producer and he's really out there, he's hustling, forward checking, back checking, he's setting guys up, he's scoring, but he's also got a relatively known reputation of being a streaky guy who is very quiet, very unnoticed on the ice. You don't recognize him. And that's, I think the Coyotes, if I can get the words out there, I think that's something the Coyotes are really looking at right now. There is, do they see him as a guy as part of the core? I mean, if he is anything like he was when he first came to Arizona, when he was really hot before he got injured, and he can maintain that and re-pick that back up, I think he's a key part. But if you're looking at a guy off the last year and a half, a guy who's really struggled to, be noticed, really make any sort of plays on the ice, I just don't see him as part of this team. I think he's real young, and I think you could get something from him. I don't know what exactly that would be, but I don't know. I don't think he's in that team's core. But like you said, Matthew, we don't know what this team's core is as of right now. We don't know who we thought Chychrun was, and right now he may not be part of the team's core. So we don't know what Armstrong's thinking here. But what do you think, Colin? What do you make of the whole Schmaltz thing? What does he kind of bring to the spark to this team and all that?
I think this is a player who has the full potential to play that top 6 role. But unfortunately, he has had the issues that he's had over the last few seasons where he's unable to reach that full potential. He still had 32 points last year, which isn't bad in 50 some odd games. But he's somebody that I think the Coyotes can use while they have him, and they can service him on that second line, on the third line, and they can swap him up and down in between that. And he's a 20th overall pick. He's unfortunately not playing to that potential, but there is that hidden, there is that potential still there. And if the right team can find that and unleash it, this is a kid who can put up 50 points in a season, and he has proved it before.
Oh, I totally agree. And, we saw flashes of him in North Dakota, like Matthew said, and, we saw flashes of him early on in his career, but, he hasn't been able to maintain that, and he hasn't looked like the guy who's taken 20th overall. But, you never know. The injury, maybe you just need to be the spark coming back as the spark he needed, not playing in a while. But we'll see how that unfolds. But that is great insight, guys. Let's take a quick timeout. Please toss us a like, hit subscribe, be sure to comment, and thanks again for watching us. Make sure you check out the other shows on the Hockey Writers Network. We have Saber Scoop, the Hockey Writers Grind Line, Chicks and Sticks, What's Crackin', Blackhawks Banner, Union Junction, and much, much more. Check out Matthew and Cohen's newest podcast as well, Western Centric. You can find on Spotify and on Apple. Follow us as well on Twitter. Shoot us a comment down below, and we'll make sure not to only answer, but we'll address it on air next week. We're on iHeartRadio and on Spotify, and follow us at the Howlers THW. And make sure to follow Matthew Zator SC, and Colton, it's CR Davies as well on Twitter. Okay, guys, let's get into the back half of our show here, and let's change topics, and let's focus on the farm and the prospects. So last week, we took a trip down to Tucson. We talked about a couple of the guys down there that have been really shining for this team recently. But let's take a look at the Coyotes' holy grail, the most coveted of all prospects on this team. And why Pat may think it's Liam Kirk, and I love Liam Kirk, it is Dylan Guenther. Dylan Guenther. So as we know, it was announced Monday that Dylan Guenther was named to Team Canada's 2020 World Juniors roster. And he's going to be joining guys such as Shane Wright, projected first overall pick this year, Cole Perfetti from the Jets, as you know, Colton, Jake Neighbors from the St. Louis Blues, Connor Bedard, next year's first overall projected pick, and other guys such as Owen Power, first overall pick this past season for the Buffalo Sabres. So with both of you guys kind of discussing recently in the first episode of Western Centric, what everybody needs to check out, y'all talked about Canada's roster on the upcoming 2022 World Juniors. How would you say, what would you say that Dylan Guenther brings to a really skilled and talented Canadian roster that's probably very heavy favorites going into this tournament? I'll let you start here, Colton.
Yeah, Guenther brings that elite offensive talent and, that high hockey IQ that Matthew and I have talked about on our first episode. He is a player who can just see all ends of the ice. He can play all three zones. His shot is just remarkable. This is a kid who's going to be heavily relied on when it comes to Canada. He is going to be likely one of the top point producers, I think, in the entire tournament. This is a kid who played at the U18s back in April. He had a great tournament there. He's played at the international level before, and he's joined by fellow Edmonton Oil Kings Jake Neighbors, Caden Gooley, and Sebastian Cossa, which is pretty cool to see, having 4 players from one junior team represent one country. No, I think this kid has all the hype he needs, and he deserves it. He is the real deal. He is a star to come for Arizona.
I could not agree more, especially with that last part. I think Pat would be saying the same here if he was here right now. This guy is what every Coyotes fan's been hoping for. Absolute steal when we got him. And, I think real fast before I get to Matthew, who will know way more about this subject, as y'all both do, talking about this, I think he brings a lot to this team. I mean, Canada is a heavily stacked team this year. I mean, Connor Bedard, Shane Wright, Owen Power, the list goes, Sebastian Cossa. I mean, this is a team that I think the only way they lose this tournament is that they beat themselves or come in too cocky. And I think that, they have to be the heavy favorites going into this tournament. They are so good on every end. And I think Guenther has such a pivotal role in this team. But Matthew, what would you say?
Well, echoing a lot of what Colton just said. This guy's a star. He already is. He already showed it in the preseason for the Coyotes. Patrick covered that quite extensively and he looked comfortable in the NHL already. He could have probably played this year, but he's way better off going to junior, dominating there again, and of course the World Juniors. This guy's going to be a star in the NHL. He's going to be a star at the World Juniors. He, like Colton said, he probably will lead the tournament in points, I would say. We're not sure what type of lines he'll play with. Doesn't matter who he plays with. He's gonna score. I'm in Edmonton. I'm not sure. Is he playing with Neighbors? I'm pretty sure he probably is.
I think last game that I caught a bit of, he was playing on a line with Neighbors.
Yeah.
So I think they got him on line 1 together.
Yeah, I'm pretty, and he'll probably play with Canada there. I mean, usually chemistry, you put the guys together again. But like I said, it doesn't really matter where he plays. He'll probably score. I believe I said on another podcast, they're probably going to be a 50-goal score. Oh, yeah, I said it on a podcast on Saturday. I was on like 3 on last Saturday. So remember who I was talking to. So, I mean, I said on one of them that he's going to be a 50-goal scorer in the NHL. And I don't think that's a stretch. I mean, he's got that clear goal scoring mentality. He's got great hockey IQ, like Colton said. He's dynamic. He's creative. I mean, this guy just knows how to score. And I'm just sad the Canucks didn't grab him because he was going to be there. But I'm happy with Connor Garland and Ekman Larsson. So it's like I just wrote an article on trade, revisiting that trade. And right now the Canucks win the trade. Yeah. But in the long term, I think the Coyotes win it because I think Guenther's going to be, he's going to beat both those guys in point production, and he's going to be a star. So yeah.
I think you're right there. I mean, no doubt the Canucks have won this trade so far. I mean, we kind of know where OEL is at, and he's kind of having a better year than he's had in last year's in Arizona, and Garland continues to dominate as usual. But I think in the long run, yes, I think the Coyotes went out there at Guenther, and only time will tell. But I think the Coyotes really have a real good guy here. I mean, obviously, I'm going to say that being a fan and rooting for the team, but I think they have the right guy in mind. But that was great stuff, you guys. Now it's time to get our final topic of the show, and what better way to end tonight's episode with another edition, we didn't do it last week, but of Tankathon 2021-2022. And this week's prospect to watch is Joakim Kemell. This kid is a 5'11", 176-pound right winger from Finland. He currently leads his team JYP in Liga in both goals and points at only 17 years old, despite missing 9 games as well for the team this season. He's ranked as a top 10 pick in scouting reports and 10 scouting reports. Let me rephrase that there. And he's also a top 5 pick in 5 of those 10 reports. He's been known to have a really high skill player with a very good shot. He plays with a lot of jump. He's very creative with the puck and has very good, smart playmaking abilities. What are y'all's thoughts on him here? Matthew, you're the prospect guru. Let's get to you first. What do you think of Kemell?
Well, I mean, again, the Finns seem to produce some of the skilled guys, and he's another one. So, I mean, he's, again, just like most Finnish players are, good all-around players. They're great two-way guys. This guy's got a lot of offensive skill. Like you said, he's got a great shot. He's very dynamic. All the buzzwords you can say, he has it. He hasn't produced much since his coming back from injury. I don't think he's got a point in his since coming back. But I mean, when you're injured for a bit, I mean, Finland's going to have him on their World Junior team. We'll see if he can bounce back and get some point production. But the raw skills are there. I mean, he's of course a young player. He's going to have to develop a lot of those those little things that guys have to go. But he's got that natural skill. Yeah, that a lot of guys in that range of being the top 5 picks. And I think he's going to probably go there in the draft, and hopefully in the World Juniors he can, get that confidence back. And again, injuries are hard to come back from, especially when you haven't played for a while. So I'm not surprised that he hasn't gotten any points since coming back. But having 12 goals and leading a Finnish Liga team at his age is a pretty big feat. I mean, you're playing against men, and it's being that young, being able to produce at that level already, that's just a testament to his skill level. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see what he does in this World Juniors, that's for sure. Yeah, and I just was about to throw that in there too. It is going to be, he was named to Finland's team roster for the upcoming World Juniors, and it's going to be really interesting because that's going to be what scouts are looking at. They're going to see how this guy produces against a lot of other big name guys who are going into the draft this year. How does he stack up against this competition? And it's going to be interesting to watch. But Colin, what do you think about Joakim Kemell?
I'm a big fan of him. I, like many people, are putting him over Brad Lambert in the rankings right now. Oh yeah. Lambert's a player that's obviously kind of fallen completely off the radar. So Kemell, he's a breath of fresh air. He's extremely creative. I think that's something that is that makes so much. Wait, makes him so fun to watch. There we go. That's the
Yeah.
proper English. But he is,
It's okay. I messed up tonight.
exactly, it happens. But he's very creative, and his shooting skills are just elite. And he's somebody who has once again played for Finland at the international level. He represented Finland at the Holinka Gretzky Cup. I think he had 5 goals there. So, this is somebody who can play at that level. And I think the World Juniors will be a good way for him to find his groove again. And he'll be able to return to the Liga and do what he's been doing for the first half.
Yeah. And, he's going to be someone, I think, just like everybody we've talked about, I think he's someone that we're going to keep our eyes on. I think he's a sleeper in some picks. I've seen as high as 12 for him. I've seen as high as 3 for him and all that. So what were you going to add there?
Yeah.
That's what I was just going to say was he's a player who is very unique in that sense where he is top 5 in some rankings. And then he's between 10 and 20 on some. And it's just like, he's a player that's going to be, a team's going to take a chance on him and it's going to luck out. The way he's going, he's got the potential to be an elite player in the NHL. So.
I couldn't agree any more there with you. I think you summed up there perfectly. I think Matthew would agree. I think he's a guy that it's really going to be interesting to watch how this World Juniors tournament really progresses with him. I know my eyes are going to be kept on him there when I'm not watching the U.S. and Canada and everybody else. I think he's going to be someone my eyes are going to be glued to. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Yeah. This is definitely the tournament where if he wants to solidify himself as top 5, this is the tournament where he's going to do it. But, I mean, if we're just going off of Liga now, I mean, this kid has proven that he can hang with grown men.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, he has proven it. And, I mean, he easily, I think in my books, falls into a top 5 pick easily. So we'll be interested to see there. But thank you guys. Once again, that is our show. Thank you so much for sticking around for what we had to say, despite my mess ups. And, I'm still learning, but thank y'all for sticking around with us. Don't forget, as usual, to hit like, subscribe, comment, and follow us on Twitter at Howlers THW. Once again, make sure to give Matthew and Colton a follow as well, and check out their newest podcast, The Western Centric, sponsored by the Hockey Writers. Thank you again, guys, for joining us. And as always, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.